Hello, everyone. Today, I want to share with you a few stories of transformation from our 160-hour trauma-informed somatic teacher and coach for women training certification. There are so many stories that I could share with you. And hopefully over time, I will get the chance to share loads more with you. But today I wanted to just talk about few things that happen a lot during the training certification that really stand out for me, that really make a huge difference to the female participants of our training. And how do I know that? It's because our training is very interactive. I I am not one of those trainers that just turn up, talks at you for a few hours, 90 minutes, 2 hours, share the slides. There is lots of words, and you have to absorb it, and then off you go to reflect on it, and then maybe you can discuss it in the bring it to Q&A session, but maybe you will get the chance to talk to me and maybe not. That's not how I deliver trainings. The best trainings that I've been part of over the last 30 years have been the trainings where it's interactive. I have access to the main trainer and other trainers. There is a discussion that's going on. There is time for reflection. There is time for connection with other participants, and actually time for integration and seeing how it lands, whether it resonates, then bringing all the questions that I might have and listening to other participants, sharing their questions or their reflections or their insights. So when you have got such an interactive training, amazing stuff happens. And it doesn't happen just on the surface level. It happens on the identity and embodiment level. That's the difference with the trainings that are deeply transformational, that move from this knowledge bit, like I understand the theories, I can tell you the theories, into, wow, I also know the practices that help me embody those trainings, those theories, those approaches, that understanding. And when I do those practices myself as a practitioner, then it becomes embodied wisdom. Then it comes from within me. I don't just stay on this purely knowledge academic level. It really drops for me because I walk my talk. Because what I teach my clients, I do myself on a daily basis. When I talk about embodiment, when I talk about nervous system regulation, when I talk about physiology, I do those practices myself as well. And that's a very different way of being, living, and working than just learning on the academic level. It's like just the knowledge, the science, the understanding. That's not enough for a deeply transformational work. The shifts, the healing, the growth needs to happen on a level of identity, on an embodiment level, on a daily little and big shifts that happen through things reorganizing within us, from really understanding it on a somatic, on a body level. That's a different type of transformation and change. This is why a lot of practitioners who come through my training or our training say that it's life-changing. That's what it means for it to be life-changing. It doesn't, I really don't believe in this hyped up, like, yeah, this is different, this, there are people out there that are doing this work, same as me, and which I really admire and I respect. But when the person comes in, and they've been through this kind of transformation, it's not that they feel different, it's that other people tell them you are different. There is something different about you. The way that you react, the way that you make decisions, the way that you make changes, it's different. So we know it from within ourselves when we are on our own, when we are going about our life, the decisions that we make, but we also, other people comment on it. Like, you are different. Something is different about you. Different to where it was before. And so I wanted to give you some examples from what happens within the training. So one of the things that happen on a very profound way, and I would say that happens to 100% of female practitioners and who come through the training and completed the training, is the quality and approach to self-care, to taking care of self. So there are a couple of examples that come to mind. One is around one of the graduates talking about boundaries. That practitioner said that she didn't think that there were a lot of changes, but reflecting on the changes, she realized how much of a difference it made to how she thinks about herself, about her capacity, the way she takes care of herself, the way that she puts boundaries in place around her work and around her commitments. A huge, huge, huge shift. For many of us, boundaries are challenging because we come from condition of the society about needing to be productive, needing to be of service, needing to take care of others or even rescue others to our own detriment, and really putting our needs last on the list. And so how do you know that there is a big change in the boundaries? Is that you make different decisions. One of the ways that I love to ask my clients when I do coaching or mentoring with clients is to end within the trainings, is to ask them, if you were observing somebody behaving the way that you behave, what would you say their priorities were? Or what would you say they're choosing? And that's a really important part of it, because there can be a cognitive dissonance that we are not that aware of, that we say something is a priority, like self-care, like prioritizing taking care of ourselves, having clear boundaries, and then our behavior, observed behavior, says otherwise. And many of us do it with our work, not understanding that actually psychologically we might not feel that stressed. Physiologically, if we are overworking, if we don't have the right balance between work, rest, and joy, we will pay the price. And that comes down to our boundaries. That comes down to us being clear about our capacity, our priorities, our values, our strengths, what we can offer, what we can't offer or don't want to offer, and really acting on it. So that's the self-care and the boundaries. The other thing that often happens in the training is slightly different thing around taking care of yourself. So one of the things that I often hear is practitioners, female practitioners, saying, this is the first time I'm actually listening to what's going on for me. So one of the practices that we learn is embodied listening or focusing. And that is about not doing something, not fixing something, not managing or coping with what you're feeling, but really tuning in within and listening to different parts and acknowledging different felt senses that come up in response to whatever we are thinking about or whatever we are working with, and not jumping in to fix it, not using tools or practices or techniques, but simply giving space to whatever is here to tell us more about what's going on for us. And the most wonderful thing about this is that things shift by themselves. Your understanding, your perception, your connection to it, your relationship with it changes just by simply giving it space and listening with kindness and compassion and openness and curiosity. And this is one of the most wonderful things, because so often in our lives, we use practices to just manage how we feel, to manage our emotions, to manage to be able to cope. That's not the same as healing. A healing happens when our inner parts and those felt senses and our inner felt experience is witnessed and acknowledged by us with curiosity, compassion, with kindness, with openness. So often we use practices, even practices like meditation, mindfulness, yoga, and other movement practices, to really shift and change how we feel without really dropping within to understand what's going on for us. And so one of the practitioners said that, really nicely, and I love it, that she said that that was the first time that she really listened within. Usually she uses all those different practices like mindfulness and meditation and yoga and breath work to manage to shift how she feels. And not doing that, but giving space and just listening is very different, and made a huge difference to how she was feeling, how she then started approaching her practice. So really interesting shifts. And that's one of the things that I hear so often. Another thing that happens a lot within the training is the change in relationships. So it's not just change in relationships with ourselves, but the changes in relationships with others, with our loved ones, with those significant people in our lives, in those relationships that often can be really challenging, like relationships with our parents, our mother, our father, or other significant people, that significant adults that we grew up with, or our partners, or our children. When we change, when we heal, when our capacity expands, and I'm talking about psychological capacity, nervous system capacity, physiological capacity, when our stress levels go down, when our baseline goes down, we show up differently in relationships. We show up differently in our work. And the change happens because relationships are a little bit like a dance. We dance together in a certain kind of way. You change how you dance, different dynamic happens. There is a different energy, there is a different rhythm. and relationships start healing, or you go in separate ways without huge breakout, without huge drama, without a lot of hurt. It's very interesting how that happens. I experienced that in my own life. And, I'm witnessing it happening in my clients' lives, in practitioners who are in our training. And another thing that I hear a lot, and this is what is the essence of this work, is a sense of self-trust. A sense of self-trust. That's a big thing, because our social conditioning, the way that we've been brought up, living in a Cartesian society that really glorifies productivity and the mind and the masculine qualities, is quite challenging, because as women, when many of us are much more intuitive, much more coming from much more flow, this is not being recognized, and that is not being acknowledged. And especially when we are running our own businesses, there can be a tendency to start pushing and hustling and forcing things through and showing up and showing your expertise and, being in that much more masculine approach. And so the sense of self-trust needs to be cultivated, needs to be witnessed, needs to be acknowledged, needs to be nourished and cherished on a daily basis. It can only come from within, whether it's self-trust in the decisions that you make around your health, around your relationships, around your life, whether it is, whether you call it self-leadership, whether you call it walking your talk, whether it is around how you structure your business, how you work with people, what you say, how you show up. All of that needs to be built on deep sense of self-trust. And self-trust is best nourished by being built on taking care of yourself, understanding your needs, working with what's true for you, having trust in life, which is a big one for many of us. There is so much in here, but when we start honoring what we are experiencing, when we start keeping our own word to ourselves, when we start putting clear boundaries, compassionate boundaries, in the way that we work, in the way that we say yes or we say no, when we start walking our talk, when we start trusting, that's when the confidence and expertise is built from within. There is so much in here, so much to unpick, and so much. I mean, I absolutely love this training, and I absolutely love the cohorts that come, the group of women. Many of the women say that this is the first time that they've been in a group where there is safety and trust. And that is because, we come together with that understanding that this is the qualities that we cultivate, that there is no competition, that you don't have to be the best, that you can trust what you are experiencing, and there isn't one right path. We all can choose our own embodied wisdom paths. We can support each other. We can be one of the voices rather than the voice. there's so much pleasure when you think about it in that way, that we can really cultivate and nurture more feminine qualities in balance with the masculine qualities. So being and doing, resting and working. We can bring it all together. We don't have to have one or the other. We can create something very unique for ourselves, each one of us. We can be one of the voices. And one last kind of little story that I wanted to share in here is something that a number of practitioners shared with me, and that is around really staying in the present moment with our clients, not really giving in to the pressure that we think we should sort it out, whatever the client is coming in with right now, and really paying attention, learning to pay attention, not to what they just say. Yes, I want to do it now. I want to heal my trauma. I want to work with this. I'm ready. But to really pay attention and read their nervous system, their body language, their physiology, and moving from that space, meeting the clients where they are at. That is a real skill. That's not something that you can learn from book. That's not something that you can learn in an academic way on a mind level. Yes, you can understand it. You can only learn it in an embodied way through practice, through practicing yourself, knowing how it feels for yourself, and then working with others and really doing it step by step. This is an embodied learning. And there is so much, again, healing and growth that comes from it. And it takes courage to say to your client, yes, I know you want to work on it right now. But right now you're saying that, but right now your body is telling me something different, and actually help them understand that through psychoeducation, through educating them. This is what's coming up. This is what your body is telling me. Can you see it? Can you notice it? And then maybe teaching them some practices to in the moment, and then going away to practice so they have more capacity within their nervous system and their physiology before they take on that work. So, so many different stories, so many different shifts, so much healing and growth on a personal level and within work on a professional level for practitioners. If you are interested in joining us and being part of our community, really learning those practices, the understanding, the theories, but also the practices, and going on a journey yourself to more embodiment, to more nervous system regulation as a person, as a practitioner, and walking your talk and working with your clients from that more embodied, stable, present, grounded, compassionate space, then reach out and let's connect and join one of our cohorts, whether it's the spring cohort or autumn cohort. And I'll be really happy to connect with you in our call. Take care for now.